Good afternoon. I'm gonna deliver a speech about multiculturalism. There is no place like home. You can feel it once you've been to many places. Perhaps one of the famous cities or tourist spots, or even when just sitting in the bus and suddenly you feel like going back. You could go to a faraway paradise, but it will always be in your mind that at some point of time, you need to stop by most familiar place where you grew up and started to dream. Dreams that are 1,000 miles away from your home. Homesickness can be thought of as a forgotten disease where symptoms disappear after realizing that a time gone by erased the haven you once had. You will start again after you leave your home country and try to adapt to the unfamiliar environment where you eventually blend in your culture. Traces are left behind after migrating to another place. These include photos that capture memories of friends and relatives. Despite this, the experiences you had will no longer continue. Through my own personal experience, I have learned that adjusting to a new country can be difficult. Even though Canada parades a multicultural society, newcomers still encounter various resettling challenges. Through a better understanding of other culture, I believe that a true multicultural society, where cultures may coexist, can be created. Living in another country takes a long process of adjustment. The length of this process is difficult to define, since the time that it takes to adjust to a new home is relative and varies from person to person. Based on my own personal experience, I have learned that adjusting to a new country can be difficult. There is a time that I refuse to talk as much as possible. I believe that personality plays a major role to adjusting to a new country. Newcomers often have to renew themselves by starting all over again, just like a child learning how to speak. You have to learn the country's language in order to communicate effectively and go on in your new life. In my case, I have learned English before migrating to Canada, but most of the time, I find it difficult to speak. This is not because I do not understand, but because I'm still learning how to effectively express myself in a way that would allow Canadians to relate to me, just as I would relate to them. There are terms in your native tongue that cannot be expressed by mere translation. Language is a barrier that must be conquered, and so is socialization. There is a need to mingle with others, maybe at school or at work, despite how different you might be. It is about building relationships. As John Donne wrote, "No man is an island." Our culture is within ourselves, and when we finally relate to other people, understanding their own backgrounds and joining to their certain practices unite us into one. Canada is said to be a multicultural country where people of different backgrounds are accepted. I am also an immigrant in this country, and Canada has opened my eyes to multiculturalism. For me, multiculturalism is not just about the acceptance of different races, but the recognition of these differences and eventually turning them into one common culture. During a meeting in the youth group of which I am a member, I have heard a story of a woman who was asked by someone about her background. "Where do you came from?" someone asked. "I am from Kingston," she said. The woman explained that she felt uncomfortable with the way the man was asking about her background because it was evident that he was assuming that she is not from Kingston because of her skin color. The woman was indeed born here in Canada, but she is of African descent. A youth worker once said that multiculturalism can be achieved when we stop labeling people as Chinese, African, Korean, Filipino, and any other nationality, and start to use us instead of them. Cultural background is very important to one's own identity. Throwing it away is the same as throwing away a part of yourself. You cannot function completely without it. I am not saying that you should not embrace other culture, but what you have to do is acknowledge the foreign culture the country has, just like how you practice your own, and coexist. Coexistence is possible only if there is real respect with one another. I witnessed such coexistence here in Kingston, particularly in the youth group of which I am a member. In this youth group, I witnessed how people, regardless of their ethnic backgrounds, socialize in meetings, play games, games that sometimes originate from their own country, share stories, volunteer in leadership conferences, and help one another. All this are done together. Migrating is a lifelong challenge. There are different ways to cope, but it is all a matter of knocking down every barrier that comes your way and making it a bridge to continue walking on the road. It is difficult, but this is what challenges are made of. People may see colors that they have never seen before, and hopefully, they may exist side by side to make a bright path towards multiculturalism.